Hello, everybody. Welcome to 3D Hangouts. How are you guys doing? Yay. So here we are, 3D Hangouts. We meet every week. This is August 28th. So it's 3D Thursday, and it's 3D Hangouts here with Noe Pedro and myself, Matt. I'm the Director of 3D and Support here at Adafruit, here in the heart of the Adafruit factory. And we're here to share latest and greatest things in 3D printing that have struck us, share projects, and all sorts of suggestions to help you do better 3D printed projects with electronics. So, down in Adafruit South, Noe Pedro, how are you guys doing? Uh-oh. Unmute yourselves and join us.
Hey, sorry about that, guys. We're doing all right, minus the little issues there. I'm Noe Ruiz, designer here at Adafruit, and joining me is Pedro. Guys, I'm Pedro Ruiz. I'm creative director here at Adafruit. Sorry.
Yay!
Technologist.
We have quite a show today with some very delicious projects to share, including teases for the future. So let's go through the show that we have planned.
Yeah, right. Matt, what's on today's show?
First we do, what are you prototyping?
Right, we take a peek at what we're working on for next week. We take a look at 3D news. That's right, every week we scour the net for interesting news and bring to you.
Then our weekly video project,
where it features Adafruit electronics and an original project. That's right, this week we're cooking up Apple Raspberry Pi. Ooh, delicious.
And then the layer by layer.
This is where we break down some of the design techniques and share with you how the project is made. That's right, awesome CAD techniques.
Then finally, the community spotlight.
We love to highlight and share awesome people and projects that are making the DIY community really cool. That's right.
We're having a great time meeting up with you guys here on 3D Hangouts every week. So look forward to sharing these new projects. So first, let's start with the prototyping stage. What are you folks prototyping right now?
Yeah. 1 second here. I'm going to share with you what I am working on. Right, this week we're working on some electronics for a future episode. Yeah, this is a remix to a Trinket project from Mike Barella, and this is in a collaboration with Becky Cern, who helped us out debug some of the sensors. So this is a EZ4 distance sensor, and it's basically writing the distance in centimeters using our alphanumeric LCD display. Or LED display, rather. Yeah, so here we see we're just testing the distance sensing here, and we're going to add this to a very cool enclosure. Yeah, this seems to be like a good combination of sort of something useful and something really fun. So if you guys have seen this before, this is a previous project that we worked on. It's a FLIR ray gun, basically. It uses a...
This is one of my favorites that you guys have designed.
Yeah, it's a really nice one. And what's cool about this project is we can sort of reuse some of the components and the measurements and start on a different type of enclosure. In this case, I'm going to try something a little bit different. If any Dune fans are out there, you might remember this. This is a pistol from Dune. And if you look at the shape, this is like the perfect shape for the battery, like that giant sort of square thing in the front. And it's got that giant sort of nozzle, and that's like perfect for the barrel. And that's perfect for the distance sensor. It is rather large, so that's sort of what we're going to do. The next step is always to move our circuit off the breadboard, and that's what we're going to.
Do you think you guys will have time to play around with the sound, the voice element of that, or probably not?
We're probably going to stick to just that's just the enclosure and making the little LCD display the right distance. And then
that's going to be a lot of fun.
Some stuff that Pedro is working on. That's right. We have a 49-hour print that just finished, so we're going to do something I don't think I've seen live on the internet before. We're going to pop off a live giant helmet off of a printing plate. Hopefully it doesn't fall apart into millions of pieces. All right, what camera?
Yeah, you guys have me...
so you're popping it... Whoa, okay, so you're taking the bed off the printer. That's new. Yeah, so we're going to have this in the shop in about a month or so. It's a little flexible plate here, which is very great for you might need large print. Yeah, you don't need like the large amount of sticky tape, or this would be such a pain to get off the print bed by itself. So So yeah, why don't you go ahead and hold that? We'll go ahead and. Oh my God, that is so easy.
Oh, fantastic! Are there any marks on the bed, or it's totally clean and ready to go?
This is the skirt, but other than that, yeah, it's good. How much flex does it have? Can you bend it all the way, or? Pretty cool. Yeah, so this is really flexible, and this is like the fourth helmet we printed on there, so it's maintaining its shape. There's no warp in it, and of course we're using PLA, so there's no heated bed required, but it can go up to like 100 C, up to like 110, I think. But yeah, we'll have these in the shop really soon, and you'll be seeing this, I think, next week. Next week it's on.
That project, I'm already excited to talk about it. I'm trying to bite my tongue. So in the bottom of the base of the print, is it nice and smooth?
Yeah. Let's check that out. You have a couple chamfers on the edges so it doesn't scrape you or cut you. Yeah, this is all nicely smoothed out. That's all in the model though.
Excellent. And next week, you guys are going to be sharing a little bit about the printing process as well.
Yeah. Some of the tips and techniques for taking on a 49 multi-day print, and just some of the settings to watch out for. How to fuse two filament types together, because you're definitely going to need one of those big spools. So we'll show all that next week.
And I'm going to have to rise to the challenge now that you two have printed 2 of those monster prints. I've got to get that running on my machine too. Yeah. So one of the things that I've been doing for the last day is I just got in the mail my Matter and Form 3D scanner. It's a project that had been a Kickstarter project I backed a long time ago. They just finished. I'm very excited because I want to play around with some scanning possibilities. So here's this cute.
Oh, cool! It's called a turntable.
Yeah, it looks very much like a turntable. It's very light. It packs up.
Oh wow!
Very easily. Comes with its little calibration.
Okay, so the case is a design. That's really cool.
You can stuff the power supply in it. It's really very portable. So I'm intending to take advantage of it and set it up in a couple of different contexts and see what it's like. So
maybe scan a couple of the pick and place machines and let people download them.
Yes. Very small parts at a time. This type of scanner is designed for scanning small objects. We've had 3D scanners in the store here before. We had the MakerBot Digitizer, which is a lot sort of bigger and bulkier, and it was an earlier take on how to do this sort of thing. But this one is designed to be more higher resolution for smaller objects, and I'm going to play around with that and see what I can do with things like trying to scan in electronics, that kind of thing. Find some speed tips for making enclosures in a very different way than the CAD approaches that we've been doing.
Yeah, that's excellent. Yeah, that's awesome. We're really looking forward to see what we come up with.
Yeah. So why don't we dive right into the show, because we've got a lot of fun things to share.
Right,
so I'm going to share a few things over here. Oh. Picking the right.
Yeah.
Is good. Okay, so early this morning we shared our last piece in 3D Thursday for the Back to School series that we've been running for pretty much the past month here at Adafruit. And so we shared about the filaments that we have just recently, just this past week, added to the store. The photographs turned out really well. Been sort of excited about that. And in there, we shared a little bit about the thinking that we went through selecting this particular filament, because we tried so many different options. There are a lot of really good filament suppliers out there. This was the one that we found the best. It comes from Ultimachine, and we're stocking, black, silver, and white, which are.
We'll get soon.
I really enjoyed it last night on Ask an Engineer. Lamore called it Adafruit Black, and then step down, like half version, lower. What did she say? Lower diffusion? I'm forgetting the exact word, but these are great colors that we use all the time and are kind of a classic. We'll probably be stocking more colors in the future, but this is a type of filament that we find working really well for our needs. Oh, yeah. And you folks have been printing in Ultimachine for the last slew of projects, pretty much extensively.
Oh yeah, for more than a year we've been using it. We're quite happy to actually have these guys on in the shop. We've never had any problem with any weird spooling issues or any bends in the diameter. That's all consistent. The spools are all universal, and as you've seen, we go through so much of this stuff. It's packaged and handled really nice. There's hardly any knots or anything like that to worry about, so it's really good stuff.
Yeah, and one of the things that we appreciate is they shared what materials they were using, and their sources are really good. And their PLA, for instance, they share that it comes specifically from a supplier that is really focused on finding safe solutions for doing working with biologically sourced plastic-like materials. And Ultimachine's done a great job of making stuff that prints temperature-wise across the board pretty evenly. So we're stocking this now, and we also have other options that we enjoy printing as well. So if you're looking to try to print flexible material, NinjaFlex is just over and above a really great material to work with. And Noe Pedro put together this excellent tutorial for how to get started printing with it. I find myself drawing from that a lot.
101 different uses and how to make flexible projects. You could use it in almost every project. Yes.
So speaking of filament, last week we talked about DIY 3D filament. It was a really fun chance to explore the sort of cutting edge of this kind of activity coming to the desktop, coming to the home. And just this past week, after our show, one of our community members shared his extensive work. This is Russ sharing on the Adafruit forums about his own heavily modded Lyman's filament extruder. So go check out this piece on the Adafruit blog, and you'll be linked to his site where he's taken done about 15 or so video documentation stages that show a lot of his thinking, a lot of his modifications, and some really neat experiments trying to make this practical, and including a conclusion video at the end of a lot of these stages of experimentation, where he's saying, okay, this is sort of working. I'm making filaments pretty good, and sort of what's next.
Yeah,
it's neat to see that people are seeing what we're sharing about and sharing back.
Yeah, hopefully we'll share some future progress on that project. Very cool.
Yeah. So the project this week will be shared quite shortly, right after this. We've been collecting a couple of these little miniatures and figurines from the Macintosh, Linux, and let's see which one. I think I have both. I have Android and Linux in here. So I wanted to highlight this designer who shared via robot engineering a number of these really great miniatures from throughout sort of personal computing and game console history. So he did this classic Mac, and he did this Apple II, and also Commodore 64 and Atari and NES.
Yeah.
And from the very beginning of a lot of the online repositories such as Thingiverse and Umagine, 3D Warehouse, etc., people would share about the stuff they really loved and the stuff that really inspired them. And so it was sort of fun to share a couple of these neat projects.
Those are so cute. I love how much time was spent on getting all the little details right, the colors and all the little fixtures and little shapes.
Yeah, it's
make
so
it really
hard to
nice.
do miniatures.
It really is.
Yeah. So go check out the Adafruit blog so you can see some more of the fun things that we collected. We shared about Android and also Linux, as well as these fun projects from people loving the sort of classic Macs. So without further ado, I want to get over to you guys and to the project that you're sharing this week.
That's right.
Okay, all right. Let's go ahead and debut our little video here. So this week's project is another Raspberry Pi project. This time we're making it into a little Mac Classic mini computer. And this project was inspired by John Badger. And this time we're using a whole 3D printed enclosure, and we're using the Mac to emulate Mac OS 7 to run sort of old school Mac apps. And the design is a 5-piece enclosure that we optimized for desktop 3D printing. And it's probably the only challenging thing is just printing the parts. It's a relatively simple circuit. It's just the Raspberry Pi, a battery, and a nice little powering circuit we call the PowerBoost 500C, which allows you to recharge the thing. So it's pretty much a little wireless computer. And we're using magnets and machine screws. Typically we use machine screws, but we want to use magnets so we can get into the electronics, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, there's enough room in there so you can fit a little speaker and an amplifier to get some sound. Now, the emulators probably don't support sound too much, but they're working on it, and it works great as a normal Raspbian computer. And there we are, sort of booting up into the Mac OS 7. We have all the ports openings for you, and the interesting about the HDMI is since it was, behind the TFT display, we needed a way to get to it. So we're using a panel mount HDMI cable that's sort of secured to the back there. And it makes it really convenient, so you can hook it up to other devices. And this is really sort of near and dear to our hearts because we're sort of, we started with Mac, and that's actually our very first Mac computer there, the Performance 6300. So it was really fun to take a look at it from a very different designery aspect and sort of figure out the challenge of how to separate it and make it 3D printable, because it is a sort of complicated shape. And I guess right now I will jump into
It's such a great form factor. I really appreciate that not only do you get to have this thing as sort of like a neat tribute to familiar object, but it's like the sort of the right size to kind of have there on your desk to run any kind of Pi OS you might want to do. I'm planning on trying a bunch of the other emulator types.
Very cool. So let's go ahead and find out. Let's jump into some CAD, right? So 123D Design is our favorite tool of choice. It's a free app that you can download. It's for Mac, PC, and Linux, I believe. It runs in the browser, or you can download it as a desktop. And the cool thing about this is that since we use 123D a lot, we like to reuse our components to make modeling a lot faster. So if you check out our profile page in 123D, you can get access to all of the components. So in this case, we're using the Raspberry Pi, our 2.8 mini touchscreen display, our PowerBoost. And really what I did was sort of import all the components in first, and then you just sort of use primitive cubes to just sort of mock up how you want things. So I put everything in the right spots that I figured would make sense, and then from there I just figure out where should the port openings go and what ports should we open and which should we keep closed. In this case I wanted everything open, so you can see all the little ports there. This is a little slide switch adapter that goes in the bottom, and right next to that is the power circuit, the PowerBoost 500C, and next to that is the battery. And one thing I want to note is before you start sort of separating objects and shelling them out, it's a good idea to sort of figure out what sort of design features you want. In this case, you saw me cut out that little top iconic feature that's sort of a handle for the Mac, right, the little top there. And I I made that before I chamfered it out or split it into pieces, because you sort of need to do that first. It's kind of like procedural modeling. And to make the iconic bezel, we just cut a little bit out of it and apply a chamfer on it. And that gives it that iconic look from the front bezel. And next thing, when you want to split your model, it's really good to use the sketches and the polyline tool. And that's basically just a pen tool that lets you draw sketches and shapes. So in this case, I just drew a couple there in the right areas that I wanted to split the object. Go up to Modify and go to Split Solid, and then you can change the sort of line sketch that you want to cut. And I'm cutting the front here, the front bezel. And what I do from there is I'll apply a shell, which is like my favorite feature in 123D, and that lets you create a shell of that solid object. And you can just sort of select faces and punch them in and out to make your sort of opening. So that's going to be the opening for the screen. And in the back, I'll do the similar thing. This is still a solid object. I will go up to the Modify and select Split Solid. I'll select the line that I want, and I'll just split it out like that. And then we'll do the same thing. We'll click on it, select the face that we want to shell out, and click the shell button. And a good rule of thumb is to use something more than 1 millimeter. In this case, it's 2. And then a little bit different is to make a shell of an entire object. You select the top face and the bottom face, and then you shell it that way. That way you can make a completely hollowed out frame. And that's what it looks like. Look how smart that tool is. It lets you, it doesn't like give you that weird error, and it makes that that handle, it figures out that handle's there, that sort of opening there. It makes it all nice. And the next thing I did was create the standoffs for the magnets and the machine screws. And they look a little bit like all over the place, but this is what it looks like, right? It's like they're all on the tip corners. You can notice that none of them are obstructing any of the other circuits, and that's really important. You don't want things smashing into each other. And you know, it's to make this thing's kind of boring. It's just a square with the fillet and a cylinder, but that's what it looks like. But one thing I do want to show you how I made something is the little speaker widget thing. What's cool about this is that I'm using the pattern, the rectangle pattern tool, and that lets you to make an array of objects really easy and sort of interactive. So what I did is I added a little cylinder to that little cap that's going to hold the speaker. And using the pattern tool, you can just add an array of objects and sort of interact with that little arrow, which is the manipulator. And you can just enter the value you want. And then from there, you can just sort of select it, copy and paste, and rotate it to make that sort of iconic-looking speaker holder thing.
Nice.
And another cool thing about 123D is that you can merge and combine objects really, really quick. In this case, I don't have to select each individual thing at once. I could just draw a marquee selection and hit OK, and it does all the hard work for me. Yay! And then the internals, I really needed a way to get into the base and the main body, so I made a really large opening in both of those parts, and I just throw in a chamfer there so that I have a little bit more area for the standoffs. And then merge them, and then I'm using more cylinders to cut out the holes. That's sort of what it looks like there. So this is a 5-piece design, and one of the things I like to do to these little holes that require the machine screw, you want to add chamfers into it so that the screw head is like flush with the surface of the part. And another thing on the bottom base area with holding the power circuit is these little standoffs and a little cover so we can close everything up. In this case, I didn't want to use magnets because I don't really need to get in there much, since you can recharge it with the power boost. So just like other boxy type models, you have standoffs on the edges, and you use cylinders to cut holes out. So modeling this whole thing is probably like 5 hours. So and there's all the parts. Looks like an hour apart. It's quite challenging to sort of explain 5 hours and 5 minutes, but hopefully you guys will check out the project on 123D so you can look at all the geometries and see how all the parts sort of fit together.
I find this description really helpful, and one of the things that's interesting to me about it is it's kind of a reverse exploded diagram. So instead of you were able to move really quickly with 123D, and instead of sort of like building out each element feature at a time very slowly, making everything fit together, you were able to move a little faster and use some handy tools to start slicing and pulling out the parts that you need to separate, so that you can make decisions on the fly about what how you wanted to print and produce the object as you kept working into the shape. This is really these are really helpful techniques, and combining that with the hardware, it's clear that you're building quite a library of tools that we can all use to make enclosures. So.
Yeah, totally. For this project, I didn't have to model any new components because we've already sort of used them in previous projects. So that's always an awesome way to speed up things. And I would really encourage you to check out 123D and check out the project and sort of start playing around with shapes on your own and see how you like it.
Yeah, even if it's just to check out the library, download some of the parts, and use them in your own projects. All the measurements are already figured out for you. Yeah.
Great.
Optimized to 3D print.
Thank you very much for the demo. So I want to share a couple of quick community spotlights for educators to sort of the back to school theme. So just going to share about 2 of them for today. There are a couple more on the blog, so please check out the Back to School 3D sort of series on the blog there. So here's the first one. This is Barry Joseph at the American Museum of Natural History. Here he is at the bottom. So one of the challenges for getting students excited about paleontology is that bones, sitting there in a box, and they're not necessarily as exciting as other types of science that are a little bit more interactive. Well, they created a project there where the students would scan in the bones and then and print them out, and they did not give them instruction about what dinosaur they might be printing, but they had a sense that these were quite sort of precious findings, and they were having the opportunity to kind of put things together and solve puzzles as a group. And what this meant is that the students who might not have been as excited about paleontology to start, they got caught up in the puzzle of it, and were able to get their hands on all of those resources and see how the bones might fit together, test them right there, and all without damaging and destroying these very fragile bones.
It's like going on a field trip without the trip. This is so cool.
Yeah, this is.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, it's a memento, a thing that you can both use as a way to protect the thing that's too fragile, and as a physical way to work with and test the shape as an idea. And then the last one I'll share for right now is, oh yeah, I'm going to go right to, so there's also Liz Aram, who's a very talented educator who has been teaching 3D printing in the classroom probably longer than anybody else. So check out her post and see her link to her curriculum. And here's a shout out to MathGirl that we mentioned last week. We shared a little bit of the curriculum, a neat project she had done. So she did this print every day for a year project, and she just finished it up this past week. So you now have 365 prints to go look at if you'd like to, and read some of the context that she provides for each one about why it might be interesting, particularly in terms of math and geometry, but definitely in terms of the classroom and ways that you might learn from it and share with others. And so that's the show for the day. So while 3D Hangouts, we're wrapping up. 3D Thursday continues, so make sure to check out other stuff on the blog. And also,
I encourage you to check out the Adafruit Learning System, where you can get all the instructions and details and slicing settings on the projects, on today's project. Yeah, right. And
Google
don't forget
Plus.
don't forget
Follow
to
us on
subscribe.
Google Plus, and check out the blog on adafruit.com/blog. Got it.
Excellent. So we'll see you guys all next week, and we'll prepare more projects for you guys. And until then, we'll keep on printing. So,
Hey, thanks guys. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week. Yeah.